Well, welcome back to the Cabin Podcast by Discover Wisconsin, friends.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey.
We said we would be better about doing self-introductions, so how's it going? I'm Susan Foch.
I'm Eric Paulson.
I'm Audio Dave.
And today we have a very quick special guest with us. Andrew, do you want to say hi?
Hey, guys. How's it going? It's good to see your faces that are alive instead of through the post-production editing suite.
Yeah. You're seeing the process as it's made.
Yeah.
You're seeing us in the raw, Andrew.
Right.
Andrew has been quite part of the cabin crew, even though no one has gotten to see him yet. He puts together all of our fantastic YouTube videos that you can go watch the Cabin Podcast, and also all of our reels that we've been posting on the Cabin Pod Instagram. So that's been very exciting. So
Those things are pretty slick, Andrew. I like those.
they are.
Thank you. Hey, I appreciate that.
I like it when it's not my dumb jokes making the teasers.
Hey, that was Susan specifically requested for that, and I thought it was pretty funny. I appreciated the.
I think that worked well.
The joke.
All right.
It has to be a great teaser so people listen to the whole episode, Dave. So that takes a funny joke.
Fair enough.
Probably got to go through a lot of bad material in order to come up with the good stuff. So,
All right. Well, I think I was supposed to start this episode because we have a special Discover Wisconsin announcement. So we do have Shop Discover Wisconsin, which everyone should have seen and heard about. Also, we wear lots of Discover Wisconsin merch on the show. But they are putting together something super fun for 2022. It is our print calendar, which actually is a full contest for photographers around Wisconsin. So if you are a photographer who takes beautiful pictures of our state and you want to be featured in the Discover Wisconsin calendar, head over to our newest blog on the Bobber, which you can find at bobber.discoverwisconsin.com for all of the details of how you can enter the contest and have your lovely photography featured in the shop.
We know there's definitely a few of you in the Around the Campfire Facebook group, so look forward to seeing some cool shots.
There are some gorgeous photos in that Facebook group.
there are. And the calendar always has gorgeous photos, too, every year. So I'm looking forward to what 2022 will bring. Usually at least one of the months on the calendar, what do you see? Waterfalls, right?
Waterfalls.
The state has so many beautiful waterfalls. And there's a new video series coming out called Waterfall Wednesday. I like the alliteration. Andrew, you're working on that, right?
Yes, I am.
All right. That's why you're here. So let's get into it on the cabin. The Cabin is brought to you by the Wisconsin Counties Association, and this week we're featuring Wood County, which is named after Joseph Wood, a member of the Wisconsin State Assembly. Now, in Wood County, the south and central areas around Babcock, Cranmore, Wisconsin Rapids, that's called the Central Plain. It's flat and marshy. It's one of the major cranberry producing centers in the United States. You drive through there late summer into fall, just brilliant red bogs everywhere you look. It's pretty cool. County seat is Wisconsin Rapids. City's only gone by that name since 1920. It was basically two cities before that. You know, the Wisconsin River runs right through the middle of town. One side was Centralia. The east side was Grand Rapids. Well, you've heard of Grand Rapids. There's one in Minnesota. There's one in Michigan. And back then, the post office kept getting confused as to which Grand Rapids to send letters to. So in 1920, people here were like, forget it, it's Wisconsin Rapids. And boom. The city is now Wisconsin Rapids.
Sophisticated
awesome.
mail carrying system we had back then.
I'm amazed it was as sophisticated as it was for the day.
True.
Yeah.
Really, but
True.
pretty
I'm being
cool
too
stuff.
critical. I'm sorry.
I respect my elders. All right. So Andrew Natvig is here. And Andrew, you are working on, among other things, because you do a ton of stuff here, some new thing called Waterfall Wednesdays.
That is correct.
And I love the alliteration. Tell us more about it.
So I don't know how many episodes of Discover Wisconsin we've done officially, but what a lot of people may not know is that we probably use 15% of the footage we film for an episode. So there's a lot of extra footage. And we've been lucky enough to I believe we've visited pretty much every waterfall in this lovely state of Wisconsin. So there are multiple episodes where they featured a waterfall and not all the footage has been used. So in order to utilize that footage, I'm kind of putting together what we would call a compilation of the waterfalls in Wisconsin. So we kind of have two different avenues that we're going with. We have a longer format video, which is going to be a little bit more slower with, some ambient music, some nice Foley. And then I'm going to be putting together Instagram reels, kind of more fast-paced, 30-second edits for each waterfall specifically. So yeah, it's going to be fun.
And so the point for people is they can watch and enjoy waterfalls in different formats, we might want to say, or different styles of presentation. And just enjoy the beauty of the state. Whether they're focusing on it or they just want like a beautiful waterfall background, they can have it on their TVs.
Exactly.
And just enjoy their day with a nice relaxing waterfall next door.
Right. It's not like you're sitting down to watch this 2-minute shot of a waterfall. It can be used as a background piece.
It's kind of like how people put like fireplaces in the background with, I think sometimes like the crackling fire sound, but that's always in the background of a lot of other people, I think, usually with apartments.
Exactly.
Who don't have access to it. Yeah.
I remember that down in Texas when you wouldn't have a fire in a fireplace, but you'd have a TV set with showing a fire in a fireplace. This is kind of a similar thing. So you're talking all the big, from Big Manitou, which is that huge waterfall, 165 feet high, to some of the cooler, smaller ones in Marinette County, for example, and like the one in Marquette County at Montello. Things like that, where people can just see a whole bunch of different ones.
Yep. Some of the other ones that are going to be featured, Parfrey's Glen, Lost Creek Falls, which I'm not exactly sure where that one is.
It's lost.
Exactly.
That's up by Bayfield, isn't it?
You're probably right. I'm not entirely sure.
If your curiosity is piqued, which it should be, go Google it and come back to us. Or DM me on Instagram at the Cabin Pod. We'll talk about waterfalls there.
And these are going to come out on Wednesdays.
Yeah, and where can people see them?
You can check them out. I mean, we have a lot of places where you can watch Discover Wisconsin videos. You can watch it on YouTube. There's the Discover Wisconsin app. We're on Roku, Amazon Fire, all those good streaming apps. And go follow us on Instagram.
And you can do
TikTok.
it at Discover Wisconsin. You can do it at the Cabin Pod. Of course, you should be following us if you're listening or watching. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
You
we
should
cross-reference
really be.
each other plenty, so.
Exactly. You should follow the Cabin Pod if you haven't. It's a good follow.
We're fun. We're a fun group.
Well,
of people.
Andrew, you work hard on those videos for it, so.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So Waterfall Wednesday will come out, and it's starting to come out in the next Wednesday or two, right?
Correct.
Hence the heads up right now. So any of those streaming devices, online, YouTube, one of my personal favorite ways to watch. So that'll be cool. And then there'll be new waterfalls added every Wednesday till we run out of them, huh?
Yep. Till we run out.
All right. Well, Andrew, thanks a lot for coming in, telling us about Waterfall Wednesday.
Hey, no problem. Good to see you guys. Good to chat.
Good seeing you, Andrew.
Now you get to go do your regular job.
Yeah. Back to work.
All right. And we're talking about rushing water with waterfalls. Oh, there he goes, out the door. We're talking about rushing water with waterfalls, right? It's loud, it's crazy, the water's falling. You don't want to go over it in a tube or in a boat. Let's do the opposite and talk about what happens once the falls aren't there anymore. Those rivers can also be really nice, relaxing, lazy places. And I'm using my NPR voice for that very reason. We're going to relax you and go down the lazy, gentle rivers, some of which have big waterfalls, but once they're done falling, then it's nice and calm. So,
well, this seems like way too violent a sound effect to play after that soothing voice. But let's get into the campfire conversation, shall we?
Let's do it.
that wasn't too violent.
Yeah.
No.
All right, so we are going with the flow today, which is a title that we thought about 5 seconds before recording.
It's a good title. I like it.
Yeah, I was pretty proud of it. So like we mentioned, we have talked about some of the big waterfalls in Wisconsin in a previous episode. Go all the way back to episode 10 if you want to find out about those. We had talked about maybe going over those again or doing something like that, but we kind of got to talking, and there's a lot of activities that you can do on our vast river system in this state that we wanted to shed a little light on. So what we each did was kind of pick our favorite activity to do on Wisconsin rivers, and we're going to talk about some of the best rivers in the state to do those activities in. So Eric, you had talked about tubing, right?
Yeah, the lazy river days of tubing, it's so relaxing and it's so much fun. So I'll be covering that. Dave, you have fishing covered, right?
Yeah, I was kind of focused more on fly fishing, which is something that I'll get into once I start my spiel. But yeah.
That you want to
I've
do.
never done that, so I'm looking forward to that. And Susan, we're dropping the rod and grabbing the paddle for you, right?
Yes, we're going to talk kayaking for me.
Great.
Very
So
nice.
we've got
I'm
those
excited.
3 categories, and shall I start?
Yeah, go ahead.
Kick it off,
All
Eric.
right. Let's talk about some places where you can go and find a nice lazy river and do a little tubing action. Some of our favorites. And I'm going to start in the western part of the state. Very popular with Twin Cities residents is to go tubing on the Apple River, which is a nice little river that ends up running into the St. Croix. Around Somerset, New Richmond, those areas, there's several places that will rent you tubes for the day. Of course, you can have a lot of fun in Somerset all day long. They have breweries and concerts and everything there. New Richmond has a drive-in you can pull into, like the digital drive-in where they put the screen up for the summer. So a lot of recreation there. But a lot of what people go there for is grabbing a few beers, bringing them down, getting on the tubes, and just relaxing on those rivers because it flows for quite a ways. And you can go from point to point and just have an absolutely great time. Now,
Nice.
one that's popular with the college kids at UW Eau Claire is to float down the Chippewa and Eau Claire rivers and really right through the heart of downtown, right through campus, under that cool new bridge where the Pablo Center for the Performing Arts is, past campus. It is a heck of a great time. And I know firsthand because I did it for the Discover Wisconsin show one time. This was, maybe 3-4 summers ago. So it was like 20 of us all kind of connected together, floating down. I'm probably the only one legally drinking a beer in that group. But it was a lot of fun. Very popular for the students, but you can rent your tubes, bring your tubes, and join them.
That is a beautiful river, especially when you get to go like under all of the bridges in Eau Claire. That's a pretty sight.
Yeah, the bridges are pretty high too because some of the cliffs along the side Eau Claire is just a gorgeous town, and the river flowing through like that is just part of it. Now, I'm going to mention the Wolf River, which I also think is a wonderful river for fishing in general. It's very long. It goes all kinds of different places, and there's several stops along the Wolf River in particular where it's popular for tubing and enjoying
That's
that
where
lazy
I've been
river.
tubing.
Oh, where? Which one of these? Fremont?
Man, I don't remember. That was back in high school. Participating on the other side of that legal drinking age.
I don't think you're supposed to admit that on camera.
Sorry,
like
Mom.
This audio, Dave.
I think statute of limitations after a decade or so, it kind of runs out. But yeah, particular stops. Fremont, which is right off Highway 10. That's a great spot on the Wolf River to do that. Up in White Lake, which we've been to for the show for some other things in the winter when tubing would not have been as much fun. And also flowing right through the Menominee Reservation around Kashina. They have the casino there and all of that. They'll rent tubes in that area. And the Menominee County is really gorgeous. I mean, it's not as hilly, but you get the forest and the winding river through there, a little bit of rapids. It's fantastic. And I mentioned Fremont and the Wolf River. Just down the road a little bit on 10 in Waupaca, the Crystal River is another great one to float on. That takes you into the chain of lakes. So it's huge for recreation, for boating, and for tubing. So sometimes you'll get pulled along a tube in a boat going fast, but otherwise, if you just want to kick back and enjoy that lazy river ride, Crystal River is a great one. Nice. Going back northwest, the Red Cedar River, which I knew more because it ran into Menominee and into the lake there in the downtown area. But if you want to float around Chetek in that area right off 53, they have a really nice stretch of the Red Cedar River where you can rent tubes and go there. Also up north, Trego, the Namekagon River. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. That's a winding river through wild forest area. It's the reason 63 goes north and then south and bends all around is because it follows that river on its way from Spooner up to around Hayward. And if you're in Trego, they will have tubes you can rent and just enjoy a nice little float all the way up and down. And in the winter, that's usually the area where they do the Berkey events. So they're very recreation-minded.
I did not know what Trego was. I don't think I've heard of that before.
It's a little town near Hayward. It's along 63. Okay. Actually, It's about where 53 and 63 have a junction.
Okay.
So it's mainly a crossroads. But yeah, there's some good recreation there. Also, going to Athelstine, that was another one. We were around the Athelstine and Crivets area, which is in Menominee County in northeast Wisconsin. I have done the kayaking down the Peshtigo River. Sorry to steal a little bit of your thunder, Susan. But,
Way to go. Mark, thanks.
but there's a rapids area there. But once you get past that, it's a nice, lazy river for quite a ways on its way towards Crivets. So that's a great place to put in. Woodman Adventure Resort is one place I'll give a shout out to. We worked with them on the show doing that kind of stuff. And then just to go into the southern part of the state, two places in particular I'm going to mention. One is Potosi, the Grant River in Grant County. If you've been to Potosi, that's the Potosi Brewing Company's there. They have a mine there. The world's longest main street is on Highway 133 there. And the Grant River, before it flows into the Mississippi, it does it nice and lazy, nice and chill.
Nice.
So you can just float down there. And then finally, the Sugar River, particularly around Brodhead and Albany. But that flows out of New Glarus and heads south. There's great trails there too, but great bike trail along the Sugar River. And that's a nice, lazy, comfortable tubing ride too. And the nice part is these locations are all far enough away from the Great Lakes where they don't stay cold in the spring for very long. They warm up nice.
Oh, yeah.
The water warms up nicely because when you're tubing, you don't stay dry.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I'm going to give one other shout out because we did do this for the show in Chippewa Falls. The Chippewa River is a great one to float too in Chippewa Falls. I mentioned Eau Claire. If you're up in Chippewa Falls, you can float from downtown just south of where the dam is that used to hold the actual falls. And you can float all the way down to Loopy's, which is a couple miles west of town, and pull up right there and have a great time. And yeah, they let me crack quite a couple of lineys on the show on that one. So
Sweet.
I've got to say, I always knew that Wisconsin was really bountiful with like rivers and all of our lakes and everything, but I didn't realize how much until I actually started my research for this episode. Oh my gosh, so many choices.
Yeah, I wanted to find a quick fact of like what's the total distance of riverways and stuff like that we have in this state, because
It is
I'm guessing the
insanely
driftless would really add to that.
Probably.
Yeah, I gotta do some tubing this summer. It's been a while, but since we did that dog-friendly episode and saw that there are some of the tubing companies that let you bring your dog with, I gotta get out there this summer.
That'd be so cute. Love
a lot
it.
of shaking off of that water when they get out, huh?
Yeah.
Bring the cat, Dave. Come on. Cats like tubing. don't they?
Ooh,
They love the water.
Maybe like
I
in
don't
like
think
one
so.
of those little backpacks for cats. I don't know. I found on TikTok the other day, and I'm so ashamed to admit this, it was like a fanny pack, but you put like on the front for your cat so that you can like take them out on walks and they can like enjoy everything. Maybe we should do that.
I'm
for
gonna need
our
a link
tubing.
to that.
Perfect. Oh my gosh.
Things you find.
Yeah. So I wanted to talk about fishing today because we've been talking for months kind of internally that I wanted to do a fly fishing episode for my birthday, which is coming up in May. Now that I'm turning 30, I've been saying for years that I've been kind of putting off getting into fly fishing because that was going to be my 30-year-old old man hobby is what I'm calling it. No offense to any
You're about to
young
turn what?
anglers out
Yeah.
there.
Or anyone over the age of 30.
Yeah. But I mean, that's a 20-something saying old man. But
Right.
But anyway, so I did get into it a little bit this spring already, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can and loving it so far. And so, yeah, a lot of these rivers that I was going to go through are really great trout streams. So at the top of the list is, am I saying that Bois Brule River, or is it Bois?
Bois, yeah.
Bois. Bois
En
Brule
français,
River.
it would be Bois Brule, yeah.
Okay.
kind of a
well, how
mouthful.
do non-French speakers say it?
The Bois
Aggressively.
Brule River. That's how you say it in New York.
Boy. Okay.
Okay.
Anyway, the Bois Brule River up in Douglas County is a big one. They have a famous history behind it. It flows from the St. Croix Lake north into Lake Superior, and apparently 5 sitting presidents have fished there. Calvin Coolidge, Ulysses S. Grant, Grover Cleveland, Herbert Hoover, and Dwight Eisenhower. And
They call
I
it
saw
the
that-
River of Presidents.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Should we name that? Yeah.
I also heard that there was a legend that Jimmy Carter's wife fished there, but didn't bring him along. I don't know. I
Just
don't
to
know if
spite
there's
him.
any truth to that or what, but
Rosalind wanted a getaway, right?
yeah. The next one is a favorite of mine recently, and that is Black Earth Creek which is actually the closest Class 1 trout stream that you can get to Madison for people looking to do some trout fishing near there. It was actually named in one of the top 100 trout streams by Trout Magazine.
Trout Magazine?
Yeah, that very popular publication on everyone's
Quite
coffee
a specialty
tables.
publication.
Everyone's coffee table.
Did they have a centerfold fold out of like a really good trout or something?
Oh, yeah.
Maybe someone's Tinder pic with a really nice big fish. Yeah.
Then I had the Kinnickinnic River, which is kind of known for having a lot of trout. Apparently, there's estimated 6,000 to 8,000 trout per mile in this river, so that's a really great one.
Now you're talking the western Kinnickinnic, right?
Yeah, so that's probably one that our Minnesota listeners might frequent if they're looking to go to Wisconsin to do some fishing. It's a half hour east of the Twin Cities and River Falls. And then we have the Pike River in Marinette County, which is one of Wisconsin's 5 wild rivers, which were established in 1965. This is just a cool thing that I didn't realize existed. There are 5 rivers in Wisconsin that are completely separated from development and stuff like that in an effort to preserve them. They don't do any vegetative control. There's no maintained trails. There's no motorized vehicles within like 150 feet of each bank. So that's something that I really want to go see, just to see. I mean, these rivers look exactly like they did when the first settlers came here. So that's pretty cool. And then we have the Kickapoo River and all of its tributaries in the Coulee area near La Crosse. I mean, I mentioned it before, but the driftless area is just king for trout streams and fishing. There's so many winding streams that come off that area that you can always find like a secret spot that is probably not on anyone's radar. So that's something that I haven't been to yet, but I want to for sure.
Some call it the crookedest river in the world, the Kickapoo.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Where was I? Oh, yeah. If you're looking to go fishing on some rivers in Wisconsin and you're not really into trout fishing, you are looking for maybe some panfish, stuff like that. The lower Menominee and Peshtigo rivers, which connect to the waters of the Green Bay, are apparently just loaded with fish. Depending on the season, you can catch trout, walleye, whitefish, smallmouth bass, muskie, and salmon in those rivers. And if you're looking for great bass fishing, the Chippewa and Flambeau rivers are great for that.
Nice. Well, if we do that fly fishing episode, I'll tell you about the time I actually caught a salmon with my bare hands in the Peshtigo River.
Well, I want to hear about
you have
that
to do
now.
that now.
No, not for today.
Come on.
We'll save it. I have to tease it for a future episode, so it'll be great. I was not expecting to catch a fish that day. Trust me. Well, thanks for a great fishing recap, Dave. Okay, so I'm gonna. How did you phrase this earlier, Eric? I was switching the pole for a paddle. Is that no? That
Yes,
sounds
switching
terrible.
the
I
rod-
should never say that.
Switching
Okay.
dropping the rod and grabbing a paddle, but we can keep going with this.
I
thing.
mean,
It's fine
edit
with
that
me.
out, Dave. Thanks. Okay, so we're
like
gonna
it
talk
too
about
much.
kayaking.
My face matches my shirt now.
That was my okay. I really should have
boy.
thought that one through before I said it. I'm fresh off of my second vaccination, so I'm not thinking super clearly today. All right, so I'm talking about kayaking, and the first one on my list is one I haven't done yet, and I'm super jealous of anyone who has. Eric, I think that you're one of these people, is kayaking through the Apostle Islands.
Yes, and it's quite the experience.
Yeah, I'm so jealous. I keep seeing like everyone with those photos, and I want to do it so badly. Can you talk a little bit about kayaking through there, especially with like under the Great
Well, first of all, the
Archways?
water's really cold all year long, so be prepared for that. It's good motivation to not tip. But, the Apostle Islands, there's so many, ins and outs across the islands. There's so much coastline there. And some of those things that like in the winter are like ice caves, you could paddle right under and through them in the summer and in the fall. And the waters of Lake Superior are a little calmer right there because the islands break up. It's not like the open waters where it can get rough. So when you're by the islands, it's a little milder for paddling. A great place to start, of course, is off Madeline Island in La Pointe, right across from Bayfield. And then you can hit up some of the other islands from there. But it is, you're going to want to take a lot of pictures
Oh, for sure.
and just soak it all in.
I'm sure we've listed the Apostle Islands and all of the like Instagrammable places of Wisconsin. So yeah, that's one I'm hoping like this summer I could get up there and do that. Then to go back to Dave's comments on the driftless area, the Kickapoo River also would be really great for kayaking. Especially I think it would be really a fun challenge considering it is the crookedest river in Wisconsin. Or in the, did we say in the country?
Some say the world, but some say Wisconsin. Yeah, a great stop, by the way, is in the town of Ontario, which is where 33 and 131 meet, right near Wildcat Mountain State Park, which you also should visit. It's freaking gorgeous. But then you can watch people kayaking in the river like a couple miles away from Wildcat Mountain sometimes.
Wow.
That's
and
awesome.
that's the Kickapoo is that make a day of it and you will not be disappointed.
I was going to say, because there's 22 miles of like river that you could kayak down, which would take you a hot minute if you were. So it definitely would be a full day. Yeah, activity, which would be super great. So all of my roommates, fun fact, grew up on the Wisconsin River. So I know that some of their favorite for like the bigger river experience is on the lower part of the Wisconsin River, because that's kind of the more like wide and flat part of it. And it's not nearly as dangerous as I've heard other aspects of the Wisconsin River are. So especially that portion in between Prairie du Sac and Sauk City would be a really nice kayaking kind of stretch for people. And also, I think it's really cool. All of those photos have the canopies of like the dense forest like over that river. So that'd be super pretty. And then I think my last one, I'm actually going to go to Wausau for Whitewater Park. And that's also on the Wisconsin River. And that's for a little bit more of our adrenaline junkies. That's a little bit more, I think of a fast-paced kind of kayaking environment where some of these other ones you can definitely take a relaxing time down. So lots of fun places to kayak. I mean, obviously I grew up doing it more like on Lake Michigan and on different beaches, but I think going down a river is a totally different experience.
Yeah, I'll tell you, in Wausau, they have a lot of competitive kayaking matches there.
I wouldn't be surprised.
You are right through the heart of downtown. I mean, you go right by... They have an 11-story building, which is, I think, the tallest office building in the state outside of Milwaukee. And you go right past there. You go right under all the bridges that leapfrog into downtown. And there are some serious rapids in those areas. I mean, that is not for the first timer. But you're right. Yeah. You know, a lot of those rivers, you were talking about wild rivers, Dave. This is a river right in the heart of the city. So
awesome.
There's a lot to do along the banks, too.
Yeah.
I love it. That was my super quick recap of some great rivers to go kayaking on. So I think that was a really good river recap for the state. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's a ton more rivers we can talk about, but let's face it, we could go on for hours and we shouldn't.
Well, let's face it, we could also make this a part 2. So.
Yes. Is that another tease, Susan?
I mean, maybe. I'm just teeing up. You guys don't understand. I've got like a year and a half of content batched out for the podcast. I get excited when I go a little too kind of far down the line. So
very nice. And there are, by the way, some designated water trails that you can follow. The Lake Michigan one, the Lake Superior one. There's one for the Fox River. There's one for the Rock River. And so if you want to Google some of those, you'll find some really good little water trails that you can enjoy. Any mixture of things. You want to do a little fishing, you want to do some lazy river tubing, you want to go kayaking, you can do a whole bunch of things on these rivers. They have a lot to offer. So, all right. Well, as the state starts slowly opening up with more people getting vaccinated, Susan, you just got your second, right? I got both of mine.
All the way here today.
Okay.
Back to the real cabin soon.
So soon.
Yes, indeed. We get to do it in person again soon. I will be fully, with counting the 2 weeks after, I'll be fully vaccinated next time we get together in the cabin. So that'll be great. So obviously, though, people still like a little bit of social distance and staying cautious if they want, or maybe they just want some good amenities as they're traveling around. Getting an RV and hitting the road with the family is a great option for any of that because it's your own traveling space, your own level of cleanliness. And people have different cleanliness levels. You can cook your own meals. You can have dining space. If you want, just grab takeout. Support local restaurants where you go and just enjoy it in your RV or, just picnic right outside. It's all right there to keep you safe and adventurous at the same time. So find out about getting an RV for the family. You can start shopping now. Go to WisconsinRVWorld.com. And remember, if it doesn't say Wisconsin, it's just another RV dealer.
now it's time for the review of the week.
All right.
We love it. We love a good review. The next two are super sweet. So this one is Counting the Days by Ben Zimmerman 13. Really glad you guys started this podcast. I've only been able to spend a couple of months home in Oshkosh the past 7 years, and I know a lot has changed. I've been listening to the cabin on drives home from work, and I can't wait to check out all of these new locations when I get out of the Navy in July.
Oh, wow.
So look at us,
Excellent,
you guys.
Ben.
Thank you, Ben Zimmerman.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ben.
Yeah.
Look forward
Thank
to
you for
seeing
your
you in
service,
July
Ben.
or August. Yeah.
Yeah, and all of
Actually,
the
it's
new
gonna be a lot of
developments in
fun.
Oshkosh.
And there are a lot of fun things going on in Oshkosh, July, August. So
Yeah.
there'll be plenty to enjoy for Ben and everyone wanting to visit Oshkosh. All right, make sure you come back next week. We're going to be talking about how to plan the most epic or relaxing, if that's your thing, summer weekend getaway in the Wisconsin North Woods.
Today's episode of The Cabin was hosted by Eric Paulson, Dave Janis, and me, Susan Foch. Produced by me and Audio Dave with video editing by Andrew Natvik and social media by myself and Abby Stecker. The Cabin is a production brought to you by Discover Media Works. To learn more, head to discovermediaworks.com and don't forget to leave us a review.